Hi, everybody. Welcome to this BFDG Design Forum. I'm Blair Barnett, the chair of the BFDG. And the Guild was formed over 75 years ago with the aim of raising the standards and the profile of the art department and protecting the interests of its members, and those core principles still apply today. We are a fantastic community of over 600 accredited skilled technicians and designers whose talents span the various branches of the art department in film, television, and commercials. Joining me tonight are Ged Clarke, production designer, Amin, Rharda, the stylist, and Abdou, Achir,
Hello.
art director. Hello, guys. And we're going to be talking
Hello.
about your fantastic commercial, Troy. I'd love to hear all about this. Jed, get us started. Tell us what's going on here.
Well, this was late summer 1922, 2022.
You look really
when,
good.
We're looking good for that age.
when I sent this script from Tarsem, who mentioned we were on a job that was going to be shooting at Korda Studios in Hungary, and on the back of that, he said, "Well, there's this possibility of this Crowdstrike commercial." So the bidding producer sent me through the script and said they were going to bid for it with two other Hollywood-based directors, and they wanted this to be shot in a studio. They wanted us wanted me to design basically a base of the horse and a part of the door, and the rest was going to be done in CGI. So the other two directors, I think, would plan to do it in a studio in LA, but we were going to do it in Korda Studios. But when I saw the script and saw how wonderful it was, I thought, wow, what a shame this is going to be a CGI job. Why don't we build it for real? Because they're going to spend so much money on CGI. Surely if we built it for real, if they let us build it for real, I'd love to do it in Morocco, because I'd shot out there 26 years before. I've shot in Morocco many times, but I was out 27 years ago, or maybe 28 years ago now, shooting a commercial with Tarsem, strange enough, so he knew about it. And I mentioned to him, what about shooting an 8 Ben Haddou? Now, in those days, Ouarzazate was, there was nothing there but just mud Casbahs. There was really very little there. Years after, of course, Ridley Scott went there with Gladiator and Kingdom of Heaven and many other movies, and it became one of the big film towns in Morocco. But at the time, it was very quiet and empty. But it had these amazing mud Casbahs, and I thought that would really work for Troy. So, and the other thing I knew was that they had great construction, amazing construction, great art department, crews, because I'd worked with so many of them in the past. So I proposed this to him, and he said, "Show me." And that's always Tarsem, show me. So I pulled some old photographs I had from my old commercial way back 28 years ago, and also some up-to-date pictures of 8 Ben Haddou, Skura, Fint, a few other Casbahs that existed, and said, this is what we should do. I also did some preliminary sketches of a horse that I thought we could maybe make. And that all got put together with an awful lot of my references. I got a lot of books. I'd read the Iliad, the Odyssey, and the Aeneid, so I knew all about the Trojan Wars. So, of course, it was a dream job for me. So once I put all that through to the bidding producer, they put it together, and strangely enough, the job in Hungary didn't happen, which was a great job, but it was fantastic, but we didn't happen. So we ended up being given the job, and so it was all go ahead for Morocco. Tarsem, who wanted to get straight out to Morocco on the ground. He loves getting on the ground and doing recce's before he creates storyboards or anything. He always does that. And so we'd planned to go out there straight away, but having an Indian visa, he couldn't get a visa for 2-3 weeks or something. So he said, right, you go out there, you recce 8 Ben Haddou, Skura, and so on, and see where we're going to go. The first thing I actually did was run around some of the prop houses in the UK, because I knew Baptiste had some amazing swords and shields, and some other great prop houses that had some really other good props and costumes. So I did that quickly, so I knew what to look for when I got to Morocco to see what they had and what they didn't have. So once I flew out there, got to Marrakesh, met up with location manager, production, and my art director, and we just sped off in cars. We had to shoot roads on the way because we were going to use some of the roads to integrate with the final shot where the horse drops off the cliff. By then, Tarsem had started some storyboards, and he knew what he wanted as a story. And then I got out to 8 Ben Haddou at the end of the day. It looked amazing, but the best light was on the front side where you see the whole Casbah on a riverbed. It's an amazing place. And then the following morning went back there with the crew, with the guys, and shot it in morning light. And the best morning light was the other side where Gladiator shot the Oliver Reed Coliseum. He built that there, took it all away. They actually replaced it again recently when we were out there in 2022. He put it back there, and that was why we didn't have many props, as Amin will tell you, because it all went on the Gladiator job. And then from then I went around lots of the other Casbahs over the next few days. Every time I went to one of these Casbahs, I did a FaceTime call with Tarsem live so he could see what I was seeing. And he said, move left over here, come back, pull back, take a still, so on. So I had all that. Then we went to Skura, did an evening FaceTime and a morning FaceTime, and we pretty much decided that Skura was the best place to do it. It's a fabulous little village, really. It's a tiny little Casbah, but it would have looked pretty much like the way Troy would have looked. It's all mud. It's got beautiful details, amazing castellated parapets and so on. So we planned on shooting there. So I started working on where we were going to build the door with Abdou, and how we were going to shoot the top shot looking back down at the horse, and how we'd build the horse in that position and the reverse. So before leaving Ouarzazate, I wanted to get to see some of the prop houses. At this point, Amin couldn't join us because he was on another project. So I got taken to Cal Studios and Atlas Studios. So they've got great prop houses, perfect for all of this. One of them had all the old chariots that were originally built for Brad Pitt's Troy, because Troy was originally going to be done out there, but then I think he had problems with Angelina, and he ended up heading out to Baja in Mexico to go and shoot it. The funny thing was, when the script first came in, Brad Pitt was lined up to do this. So we were all getting very excited because Tarsem and I would work with Brad in India on a commercial a couple of times. And Brad had also worked with him previously on Benjamin Button. He'd shot all the sequences in Cambodia. So we knew Brad, and we thought that would be great. Once he hears Tarsem's doing this, he'll say yes. And he was approached, and he was kind of yes at first. And it wasn't even about the money. And he was going to play a character called Bill, who is the Charlotte character in the story. Okay. And then he said, you know what, I didn't have a great time on Troy. I don't think I want to revisit that again. So, as you know, they then cast a lovely English model girl to play Charlotte instead. They changed the name. So we were out in the Atlas, Cal and Clarke Studios, which had the prop house, and Atlas Studios. And I said to the guys, I really want to visit the old Kingdom of Heaven set. I knew it was there. It was way out in the desert beyond Atlas Studios. And so I shot it. And of course, I took thousands of photographs, sent them all back. They're all shared with the agency, who were actually the client. There wasn't an agency involved. It was direct to the client. And Tarsem basically made a shortcut that I spoke directly with the client, which is pretty unusual on most commercials, but with Tarsem, you can kind of do that. So I was one-to-oneing with them, and eventually they said, we want to shoot at the Kingdom of Heaven set. I went, oh, but that's 2,400 years out of date. You know, that's like a Knights of the Templar Crusaders castle, whereas we were shooting the Iliad, the Troy, a very different building and architecture altogether. Still made of mud, but they said, no, we want epic. And I said, well, you know, don't you think people in the know will notice? I said, no, we won't. We don't care about this. Americans don't care about this, because it was going to go on Super Bowl. So, oh, okay, well, that's a different approach. That wasn't really what I'd planned, but thought, okay, well, we'll go with it. It would look epic, but it meant that I'd have to really radically change all the designs. At this point, I'd already done designs, which you'll see later, for shooting at Skura. We'd done a Photoshop where we'd cleared out all the doors, which we were going to block up and mud up. We got permission to do that. We were going to build these doors and these towers either side. You can start to see. So you can see here, this is 8 Ben Haddou. On the top left there, it's an amazing place. The one bottom right is actually in the middle of Ouarzazate that when I went there 28 years ago was really decrepit, but it's really been renovated because of all the tourism. Top right is the commercial I shot back in 8 Ben Haddou. That very spot, we built all of that on the right-hand side and walls, literally by just calling someone, and we made a mud wall. So it was amazing what we could do with 8 Ben Haddou. So you can see some of the roads that I shot on the way to 8 Ben Haddou, and some of my shots that I took morning and evening light.
Yeah.
Including the one middle bottom, which is the area where the Colosseum for Oliver Reed in Gladiator was built. That's why they've cleared all the earth back then. It wasn't cleared back in the day when I was there. And again, they went out and shot another Colosseum, which I believe Russell Crowe went and became that kind of character. So here you can see parts of Skura. You can see how it looks on top right and bottom left with doors and entrances. And we photoshopped out on the bottom right what we were going to clear up for real with mud. And then that section where you see the door, the entrance door, we're going to build our own door and towers in front of that without damaging it at all, of course.
Yes.
And they get there. It was a lovely little Casbah. You can see the top, middle. You can get top shots. You can look out into a lovely plain out beyond Skura. So that was my favorite spot. I think CGI was going to extend a lot of this in post. You know, make it a bit of more of an extension because it is tiny, but at the same time, it just had such character and such details that we loved. You might want to move on to another slide, perhaps. Yeah. So here's the Kingdom of Heaven set that I shot. You can see it's very barren. It's an incredibly windy spot. You see bottom right there in the far distance, the Atlas Mountains. And yeah, you can see also in the middle bottom one, there's a trebuchet out there that really works. There's one inside the fort and there's one outside that they used and doubled up and so on. And they really did work, those things. And they built it for real. I think they brought the timbers from Mexico or somewhere extraordinary. And I think
Canadian.
I believe
Canadian
from Canada
had a sudden input into this one. He was working on that. He was on that shoot, and he had all the plans for that, which he was able to share with me. So we were able to work on that. And of course, as you can see, it's a Crusaders castle. It's not anything like the look of Troy. So we decided that we would change the tessellations up the top, the castellations, to make them more ziggurat style, matching what we felt was right for Troy. It was pretty decrepit in places, especially the parapets where you walk, so we had to rebuild some of those. And as you can see, the door is tiny. There's no way a 42-foot horse was ever going to go through that. So we decided we were going to build a new entrance and towers either side of that, going up, which you'll probably start seeing now in the next few slides. So these were yeah. So the next slide is some of my initial sketches that I did. I did about 15 different sketches. The one on the left was the one I first thought I was going to build, having tried to style it much in the way you see those lovely little bronzes, Greek bronzes, and with a great big mane. So I had planned to originally do it like that. And they wanted to see some alternatives. I did about 15 of them, and you just see 2 more there. And eventually they decided upon this one, which I then proceeded to, that was for sketch number 11, and then I colored it in, and then started getting plans drawn up as to scaling it up.
Yeah, I'm fascinated with this horse and how you came up with the design of that and actually how big it is, because it looks enormous in the film.
It was.
It
really
was.
It is.
Yes, there were a few expletives when they finally did see, when the crew and came and saw it, they just couldn't believe what they were seeing. I mean, this was bigger than the one used in the film Troy, in Brad Pitt's Troy. So, I mean, Kingdom of Heaven set is vast. It's huge. It's over nearly 60 foot high. So you get some idea that I should do this in meters for all of you that no meters. I think it was 12.2, 12.4 meters high. I think 12.2. 14 meters high. I beg your pardon. Thank you, Abdou.
About 38 feet.
Yeah. No, 42 feet. I think that is. I have to check that now. So yes, I've made plans. I had my son Finian, who's brilliant at doing CAD drawing. Not that he's going to do that. I think he's studying prosthetics, doing his MA for prosthetics at the moment. But he joined us and he started doing some CAD drawings because I thought Abdou, being an architect, would prefer CAD drawings to pass on to his construction manager, Hassan. So yes, I started making plans and sent them out to Abdou and the guys, and they mulled over them, and the word came back, is there any way you can do some cross sections, some slicing up, so that we can see how to build a structure inside?
But there was a lot of struggling before getting to that. So as soon as we got the drawings and the size, and we realized the size of it, we kept thinking, how are we going to break this down? And then we struggled a little bed with the construction guy and everything. And then certain point we came up with this section idea. So then I asked Ged to get us some cross sections, just exactly like this.
So you can see, first thing I decided to do was just number it so I could work out which cross sections would work best. And then you can see the right-hand side, the front elevation with all the cross sections. And then on the next slide, you can see all the side elevation and plan view, which was tricky. I could have done with actually doing this in ZBrush, I think, which would have been a little bit easier for me to then slice it up physically. Finian's now better at ZBrush, so next time we do this, I'll get him to do that. But yeah, it was a bit tricky, but it just helped figure out how we were going to physically build this. I wasn't sure. I was just trusting Abdou and Hassan, the construction manager, to come up with a plan. I knew it'd have to have some form of steel structure to support itself. And many years ago, I made a film called The Fall, and I made a carriage about the same size, and realized that if you made a steel structure and built and clad it in wood, you get there. And of course, the axles have to be strong enough to support the weight and so on. But I knew that the Moroccan crew were up to this, having seen the kind of things that they've built for Wrigley, and so knew they were capable of doing it. I didn't realize that they were so worried about the size of it. I mean, I just went for it. I just thought, let's go for it. Let's see if we can do it. So this is inside a funny little workshop that was not far from Atlas Mountains, Atlas Studios, I beg your pardon.
Atlas Mountains too, not far.
Shop, didn't it? It just looked like a shop. But round the back, there was a place where they could build stuff outside in this incredible heat. And indoors, it was actually quite cool. And the engineers, the blacksmiths, were cutting up steel and laying it on huge sheets of paper which all of these plans, these cross sections, have been laid out on the floor. So they could build it literally to scale, full scale.
Full scale, yeah.
And therefore piece it all together and weld it all together. They were amazing. I think the son of Hassan, the construction manager, was chief engineer on this. He did just the most phenomenal job. You get these guys that are just unsung heroes, and he was definitely one of them. Because
there was one thing, just one simple thing. All of those guys, all of them, they just loved it as an idea. They just loved it as a challenge, and they loved it as a project. So everybody was excited every morning to come back and start working on this thing. So we laid down on this cardboard piece every cross section. We drew it on the cardboard, and then we started molding the metalwork on it. piece by piece, and then from there it goes outside to get assembled with the other with the rest of the pieces, and then each part of the horse we split it into 5 or 6 parts. Legs, each legs, we had the base, we had the wheels, we had half of the belly, the other half of the belly, neck and head apart, and it was like an industrial work. Each piece that was assembled went to the carpenters to apply wood on it, and then from there went to the scenics to age it and start working on it before the final assembly.
So you can see probably in the next few slides some of the build process. So these were some of the references I sent through to Abdou to pass on to the crew. Just some textures for the horse, as though they were made from planks of wood from the ship. The ship would have been a bireme at the time. It would have been a Phoenician ship that the Trojans used, the Greeks used to come over to Troy. Those ships were called epoch. And epoch meant horse. So when the Greeks left a horse for the Trojans, it was probably a ship filled with offerings to the gods. And that's probably what the Trojans came down onto the beach to find, to haul back into the gates of Troy. But time has told us that it was a horse. Homer obviously translated that horse meaning a actual horse, which was kind of like a god at the time. So it's possible, but more than likely it was a Phoenician ship. And that's one of those things that came up in the research going into real proper archaeology and so on. So this was I wanted some color into the horse, as though the ships had been painted various colors. And then I think the next textures are what I wanted for the door. You can see the next slides. So this is what we originally planned to shoot at Skora, making a little plan. That's what we were going to do there. And then I think the next plan was the kind of doors. Now, funny enough, these doors existed. Two of these doors were actually at Skora itself. So that it was easy to find these references. They're all over Morocco. You'll see them in all sorts. You'll even see them in the souk in Marrakesh. These kind of doors, they're fabulous, thick, solid. I guess they're made of oak, and sometimes they're clad with metal like this, which are really fabulous. So yeah, that one on the left there is actually at Skora.
It's really lovely. And then you made yours.
And then you can start seeing how they started building the structure for the base outside, and the wheels and all the different sections. You can see second from left at the bottom, part of the door being built and all the studs being made. They had the plasterer shop making sections of that. And then the first thing I wanted is to give the wood texture. I asked them, could they either sandblast it? And they said, no, they use the burning process, which I've used for years. And it's an easier way for these guys to do it. So yes, the smell of burning wood was there for a couple of weeks. And they started building me a structure, which you can see, and just making sure that the guys could fit in it. And then they started shipping it all over to Atlas Studios. You can see how we started. Hassan hired in this fabulous truck, his pickup truck, and literally hauled them up onto the back and took it down the street. So parts of this was literally driving through the streets of Ouarzazate, and they were having to stop at all the wires across the street, the electrical cables, telephone cables, and hoist them. They had special hooks. They'd already thought about it, and they were pushing them up with hooks so that we could drive this thing underneath, and then haul it over some pretty horrendous terrain to get to the back lot where Kingdom of Heaven Set is, and start piecing it together. So you can see how it was sectioned and lifted up in parts. And it was fabulous to see this thing slowly pieced together. And of course, I'd be going, morning, noon, and night, and spending time with the guys. But midday, it got so hot out there. They
Yeah, I
couldn't.
heard you. Not only was the terrain, but you had some crazy heats and storms and all kinds of adverse effects in the weather.
We did. The day you can see this being shipped out, it hit 50 degrees. And I was talking to Amin that day, who was in Marrakesh, looking for props at the time, and he said it's hotter in Marrakesh than it was in Ouarzazate. It was 50. It was 48 most days around lunchtime in Ouarzazate. 50 that particular day. It was baking. You couldn't touch the metal parts. It was just, you could have cooked an egg on it, no problem.
And yet people were burning wood.
They were burning wood as well.
More fire.
Ged, sorry to interrupt, but I think that the technique of burning the wood was helping a little bit that temperature to rise during that period.
Yes.
And just to make sure that everybody understands, we are talking 48 Celsius, not Fahrenheit.
No.
So it's just to make sure.
Yeah. Thank you. So yes, it was pretty warm. And as the guides pieced it together, of course, there were joints that you could see, but Hassan and his crew wisely left off sections of wood so that when they clad them, it covered the joints. So they thought it all through very, very carefully, very well planned by Abdou, Hassan and his team. They were amazing. And, you know, unfortunately, they never get the applause that they normally get on these huge Kingdom of Heavens and Gladiator jobs, because that all goes to Arthur Max and his Italian crews that he brings over from Italy to sort of design all these things. He has draftsmen and art directors, and the Moroccans build these things, and they're just, you know, it's a shame. So I was so thrilled to be able to give them this project to work on, and of course they excelled, and I knew they could do it. I'd seen what they did, you know, 28 years before, so knew they could do it, and they were fabulous to work with.
Thank you.
Not one word of complaint about the heat.
Not even during your sandstorm. Tell us about that.
Sandstorm. Oh, well, that comes later. If you actually go a slide or two on.
Okay.
By the time well, actually, maybe not. By the time we actually had the thing erected, we had a day where we started to dress. You can see some of the ropes and trucks and also the rooftop, the ramparts we had to dress. So it started, Amin had brought all the props from Marrakesh, from Class Studios and from Atlas and from all his different sources. He's got so many all over the place. And we started building the gates there. You can see actually the gates, we were not allowed to touch the Kingdom of Heaven set. So the gates we built all the way up without ever putting a nail or screw into that
freestanding,
and had to remove afterwards. So we had to have that freestanding. But when we got to the section where the horse was fully built, Abdou said to me, right, everybody's been on the horse. You want to go up and see what it looks like on top of the horse? I said, sure, yes, why not? So they put me in a harness, hauled me up right to the top of the horse, and I was helping clad on actually some of the canvas sail with the snake on it. Yeah. And I was doing that, and I was looking out to the Atlas Mountains, and it was black, and it was coming our way fast, and I could feel a gentle wind building, and it built and built and built, and it's coming in so fast. It does cut across that plain so much. And I got to the point where I could feel the horse was moving, but I was struggling to keep a grip. So I said, I think it's about time I got down. And also there's a lot of dust kicking up by then. Got down and the wind just hit and it really kicked in. Sometimes you get rain, but this was just a huge sandstorm that came through. And it kicks up all the sand from the plain that's all the way from the Atlas Mountains to the Kingdom of Heaven set. So it's really difficult to work in it. We had to just down tools for a little while. I noticed some of the guys carried on. There were some guys working inside the horse, still welding some sections up. But yes, the horse stood and it wavered a little bit, but stood the test of time for that storm. We had another storm later while shooting. But, yeah, it was fantastic that It stood the test of time. Another thing that the agency, the client, asked for, that they wanted these boulders looking as though there'd been a war and that they'd had these trebuchets or catapults hitting the wall. You can see the sort of bombshells on them. Don't really think they actually had catapults or trebuchets back then during the Trojan Wars, but c'est la vie, that's the Americans. You know better, Blair.
They want everything.
About breaking rules at all. So no, it was fine, and it was great. So of course all those sections of the wall had to be plastered. They were beautifully done and aged down, and likewise the doors, which we had made practical with that little interior door, so we could go all the way through and inside the Kingdom of Heaven set. So we then kind of had a rehearsal day with all the extras and the camera. And you can see the final sections of, you can see someone up the top there, how tiny they are on that horse. That was just prior to me going up. And you can see already Amin and his crew starting to dress. You can see the chariots in foreground there that we were dressing. We took some of the wheels off them. And you can see up on the parapets, we started to dress up on top with all the spears and beds and so on. I don't know if any of you have seen the commercial. I hope you have. Maybe we can play it at some point.
Play it at the end of it. I want people to see all this magic.
Where we had all the extras up there. We even had chickens and goats that Amin got hold of. Maybe Amin could tell us something about the props, which he got from every. And then, of course, the other thing, he did a lot of the special effects. We had fire and smoke, so all done for real.
Even pulling the horse, actually. Moving the horse for quite a long distance with a tractor.
Of course, I forgot about that. That later on, Tarsin wanted us to actually move the horse. He wanted it to be trundling away. So, Abdou hired a tractor.
We did.
And it made the most fabulous sound. It was creaking, but it sounded wonderful. And you could feel it going over the lumps and bumps and creaking side to side, and it sounded very atmospheric. It was wonderful.
And not only once.
No, many times.
It was doing it the whole day.
Yeah, it was fabulous. It stood up to the test of all of that. Yeah. It was a dream job. It went perfectly. These are some of the other drawings that are original sketches. Tarsim said that this painting on the right-hand side was his favorite Trojan horse painting. It's by an artist called Glansman. And he said he wanted to shoot from underneath. But I'd already done a drawing, as you can see, looking across and up into the head, top left, I beg your pardon. And then when he said underneath, I thought, well, we're still looking into the head, of course. So I took the section out from underneath and thought we were going to build that. But I think budget just meant that we couldn't really go that far. We'd already spent all the money, of course, on the horse and the gate and the props and the costumes and so on. And we'd even brought some costume over and some swords and helmets from the UK. So it was adding up a bit. So I thought, we'll just keep it very simple. And designed a set, as you can see, that ended up pretty much that one on the right-hand side. And I knew that that if we built it, that I would have it so that there were lots of gaps between the wood, so light it from the outside. And the idea originally was to light it with the sun, fill it with some smoke. You can see the top left was what we had originally planned to build. And then it got too expensive. So we ended up building a much simpler interior structure on the right-hand side, which you can see the stills down below. The agency also asked me to include some shields that related to their adversaries. So they sent me over images of what their adversaries looked like. They were very techy, very modern. So we took those and redesigned them, and Abdou had them printed out, and then we had Amin's painter paint them onto the shields that we hired. Those shields we hired in Ouarzazate, I believe. So you can see, so these are some of the props that I brought from the UK. Up the top there's some beautiful bronze swords and shields and helmets. They came mainly from Baptiste that do some amazing things. There were a couple of other places we visited, Arms and Archery and various others that, so I was able to pass a lot of that on to the costume department, both Zineb in Morocco and Zelda Sellers in London. And Zelda brought those with her, with the costumes, and then Zineb supplied many costumes, most of which I think came pretty much from Marrakesh, I believe. And then, of course, Amin was let loose in the prop houses you can see below, which were, these are just a tiny, tiny portion of the prop houses, what they have there in both Marrakesh and Ouarzazate. Down below, I think there's probably another slide with some more. Yeah, these are just some of them.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's pretty dirty and dusty out there. There were lots of pigeon poo on everything. But Amin's used to that. And the one thing I wanted were lots of ropes, because I knew that the rigging to the ship sort of had lots of ropes. And I wanted that. And fortunately, they did have them. Now, the big problem for us was that Gladiator was being shot. And they'd virtually emptied out the prop houses of all the good stuff. So all the swords, shields, spears, nearly all of that had gone up to Ouarzazate for the Gladiator prop houses. So they were in there, so we couldn't get access. So we still had some nice things, really lovely bits and pieces, but it wasn't the most ideal. It wasn't the best, but still good. Amin made it work.
We made it work at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
And it had also that feeling and atmosphere that, you know, the remains of battles. They had all those kind of aftermaths of fightings and aftermaths of battles and left and broken. We had a lot of broken things. So just to dress around the horse as it was an abandoned battlefield with the Greek army retreating and leaving the gift for the Trojan. So that was the selection of props that we had was absolutely ideal for this set.
Then we have some wonderful costumes.
That's a wonderful model.
And he was pretty fit. We used Abdou as our stand-in, where we had our extras and cast.
There was one thing we all agree on is the passion. Everybody worked on this because it was for. I might be talking for myself, but I think the others too. It was very, very unique and special. Very, very, very different experience. So everybody was going 150%.
So we had a really lovely costume department as well, and we worked in the same workshop. We all set up in the same place. Once the engineers had finished the steel work, they cleared up, and that's where costume went. These were some of the designs that we modified from the original adversaries from Crowdstrike. They give them names and everything. I've just redone another one, another new Crowdstrike, a Western that we shot in Taberna in Almeria with Crowdstrike. And again, they love to get all their adversaries in and so on. And then these are a couple of the sails, small sails. These are just small ones to go over the back of the horse, just dressing on. They were fun.
And then in situ.
And then top left, we started with a drone shot. That was the opening day drone shot. So we dressed all the front or looking out to the plain. You can see you can go way beyond. You can see the Atlas Mountains beyond, and you can see the kind of things that we were dressing up the top. It was very dangerous up there, not for the extras, but climbing up through the scaffolding was a bit tricky, unless you went all the way around the back and up some very rickety stairs to get to this point. Once you were there, it was fairly safe, like the mid top one. It was fine. And then we also shot out in the desert all the extras. We got them all out there and did a top shot of them running away, which was going to be later composited into the end shot, which we shot in another location on a beach down in Lexira Beach down in beyond Agadir for the composite. So there you can see the final horse built and some screenshots from the actual commercial. You can see a lot of Amin's dressing.
Yep.
Things that had not blown away.
Yeah.
No, especially that we had prior to the shoot, we had like 70 to 80 kilometers wind with beautiful temperature to reaching 47. But it was okay because we were worried around the set, especially using the drone. We had some tracks, you know, some people were visiting the Kingdom of Heaven set on quads, and the wind did us a favor by blowing away all those tracks. It was wonderful. It was a divine intervention.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was. I think we're fairly blessed on this one.
It was
Absolutely.
also difficult to keep the tourists from taking pictures of it.
I did, yeah. We had to cordon it off, but it didn't stop the quad bikes. There was someone in Ouarzazate that had some business where they took the quad bikes, and so we had to be a little bit careful that they didn't post them. Funnily enough, there was an art director who was shooting Alexander. He may even be listening. And he came and did some shots of the horse. And I saw him post them on Instagram before, just as I think after we finished shooting, and I asked him to take them down and said, don't do that yet. No one's seen this yet. So bless him, he took them down for me. But he went on to shoot Alexander, not only in Ouarzazate, but also in Marrakesh. And bless him, I also used one of his sets later on in another film that I made in Marrakesh. So I thank him for that, Keith. Yeah, here's the set.
Yeah. And there, it's nice how to see how you composited this.
Yes. So before I even left the UK, I was having conversations with VFX company based in, I think they were in New York. And we were talking about how we were going to piece it all together. So I had my photographs and location pictures of Lexira Beach down on the right. There were a lot more of them, of course. And they showed me how they wanted to place it and what we needed and how they were going to piece it together. So we kind of had that all planned so that we could do drone shots at the right distance and likewise out to sea and so on when they got down to Lexira, a beautiful, beautiful place down the coast. So yeah, that's how they pieced it. There wasn't an awful lot of CGI on this. Most of it was real. We did talk about Bireme ships, which they were going to put on the sea for the opening shot, looking out to sea from the parapets. And of course, we're a very long way away from the sea. And so I sent them lots of references of Bireme ships, and they created those. And when they shot the sea, looking out to sea from Lexira Beach, they then had the drone out looking out to composite that opening shot and the end shot of it, the horse falling backwards. And of course, the horse falling backwards was done with us pulling it with a very, very long rope on a tractor. So the tractor was out of the way for that shot.
How long did it take you guys to shoot all of this?
3 days.
Shoot on the 3 days. 3 days shoot.
2 day shoot, but 3 days because it was
the building of the horse from scratch, from the approved drawings, was 27 days.
Wow.
And it took 26 men in total, including blacksmith, carpenters, scenics, painters, plasterers, fabricators, the whole mixture. And I'm talking about only construction, not Amin's crew.
Right. Wow. I mean, it's such a feat, and everybody. I mean, I could see why everybody was so invested and so excited about it. I mean, because it is such a beautiful thing. Do you know? You normally you get commercials or you get projects that are quite everyday life, or just a kind of you look past them. But this is a monstrous horse, and it's enormous and beautiful, and the detail you put into it. I could see why everybody was in love with the project. Yeah. That must have translated to on set as well. Like, were the shooting days like that? Was everybody just in awe and happy every day?
Well, there are some stories that Ged will tell you, but yeah, we were all excited, and we were all it was 27 days straight, no weekends, no nothing, but no extra time. There were some stories that we kind of owned this horse. So you got a good point there, because at the end of the project there was a big argument about it.
Who keeps the horse?
Who keeps the horse? They wanted to
Yeah,
destroy it.
they originally
Yeah,
said,
now Ged will continue the story.
Yeah, they originally said, well, we actually shot for 2 days, a day and a half on the horse, and then half a day. Then we went in for lunch, and had the most amazing lunch you'll ever seen in your life, because the Moroccan producer did Gladiator, Kingdom of Heaven. Oh my God, Sheltering Sky. He goes on.
He's not Kingdom of Heaven.
He's a legend. He's like a lord, a sir out there. And he put on a show for us, like dancers, musicians.
Oh, nice.
Phenomenal banquet in this most gorgeous, huge tent. And we were enjoying ourselves, you know, going up for teas and 6-course lunch.
And sign in this.
Yeah. And we came out and there was a sandstorm kicking in. So we couldn't.
Another one.
Yeah, a huge one. And we couldn't shoot the interior. We had to wait for 2 hours. And we were worried that we were going to miss the light. We did actually miss the light because the sun had shifted. We planned it on shooting it exactly the right time, when the sun was in the right position to shine straight through our interior set, which we'd set at an angle. So it'd be backlit, top backlit, on a gimbal. We put it on a tire gimbal so we could shift it. And unfortunately, the sun had gone by now. And so Colin Watkinson, the DOP, who actually shot The Fall with me and many other projects with Tarsem, he put a great, huge light behind, I think a 12K, and whacked light straight through. It looked the same, put smoke in it, so it looked fantastic. Shot that. And then we did some sequences, which we always do with the client, with the agency. But at the end of the shoot, we'd been discussing what was going to happen with the horse all the time. And they said, oh, well, you'll have to destroy it. We don't want it going anyway. They said, oh, hang on. We'd like to take it to Las Vegas. Can you take it to Las Vegas? So we thought, well, that sounds like a project. Funny if you got. So they said, just tell us how much. So for I think about 2 or 3 days during the prep and into the shoot, we finally got a figure of how much it was going to cost to deconstruct, crate it, ship it by ship, get it across America to Las Vegas, and have our crew fly into Las Vegas to rebuild it. And I think they went, actually, maybe the client won't pay for that. I mean, bless him, the client, this was their first commercial. So because they wanted Brad Pitt, because this was their first commercial, they wanted to launch it on the Super Bowl at halftime. So it was going to be this huge thing. Tarsem tried to persuade them to put it on for a minute, a 60-second commercial, 2 minute or 6? Yeah, 60 seconds.
60 seconds, 60 seconds, and then 30 seconds.
They could only afford the 30-second on the main in New York and Los Angeles, but the rest of the country, I think they managed to, they could afford the 60. So yeah, it was just the 30 for New York and LA. So we talked about it, and they said, oh, you're going to just have to destroy it. And I said, really, please don't destroy it. And they said, well,
no, there was no way.
And we talked with the client, and also with production, and also with Zach, who was going to have to pay for it to, I mean, the strike was on. Normally with these things, they just scrap everything, pretty much recycle everything. That's nearly always the way everything gets recycled. But everyone wanted it saved. And so thank God a deal was made, a deal was struck. And the client said, well, if you, to Zach Alawi, our producer, if you transport it to your workshop, to your construction manager's workshop, because that's where they figured out it would go to, and you keep it for 2 years and don't let anyone see it, it's yours. So those 2 years must be up later this year, I think. So Abdou
in 2 months.
with Zach and ask him what he's going to do with it.
Oh, it's going to go in your back garden. I know it. Don't lie.
No,
I think
no.
it's to go into the main square in Sazat. As you enter,
But hopefully and seriously, we might reuse it in some other project. But it's there. It's dismantled very well. It's well kept, and the deadline is next July.
okay.
Next August, mid-August. Yeah.
Okay.
Or is it from is the count starts from the shoot or from the Super Bowl?
I guess Super Bowl, so it'll probably be.
So it's
January.
25, Super Bowl 25, and then it's ours.
Yeah, but if you're going to do anything, let me know, Abdou. If
I'm not going to do anything. It's Zach's.
Zach, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's Zach's.
Yeah.
It's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah. I mean, I've been very lucky especially with Tarsem. I mean, I've done some amazing projects.
They also shot a making of which we never seen.
No.
I keep asking Zandy about it, but I don't know. I just here there's one picture.
Oh, was there another picture? Sorry.
No, just one. Let me share my.
Let me stop sharing so that you can share.
Just the one
Sorry,
that I think.
Talk amongst yourself while I figure out how to do this. Stop share. There we go.
I want to share this here. Can you see it?
Oh, sorry. Not yet. Are you able to share?
I have to go in settings and authorize Zoom, whatever. Okay.
While you're working on that, should we play the actual commercial so that people can see?
Yes, go
That'd be
ahead.
great.
Play the 1 minute. Play the 1 minute piece.
Yes, I got the long version.
Mm.
So let's get that going. Hold on 1 second. Going back to screen share. Share screen.
Sound on.
Sound
Loud.
on.
Say it loud.
Okay, here we go. Let me start from the very beginning again. Don't want to miss those precious few seconds.
Take a look at this! Left us a gift. That is so nice of them. I think we misjudged them. I love horses. Little, we should open the gate. Hang on. Let's see what Charlotte thinks. Charlotte!
At Crowdstrike, we monitor trillions of cyber events to detect threats and prevent breaches before they happen, to keep your business from becoming history. We stop cyber attacks. We stop breaches. We stop a lot of bad things from happening. Crowdstrike, protection that powers you.
It's so good.
The future of your
None of that. It's so good. It's just so funny.
All that work for just 60 seconds.
I know, but it's just
Isn't it?
glorious.
I've done so many jobs with Tarsem where I've done, huge sets and, things that you could shoot a movie on, First World War sets or ancient Romans, ancient Greeks, the Incas, you name it, every culture and time in history and place in the world with him. And you just see it for 60 seconds. And I just think I should be doing movies rather than these commercials. But the great thing about the commercials is that they've given me this incredible, chance to shoot in over 60 countries, not just with Tarsem, but with many other directors and travel around. And it's been wonderful. So
here, can you see it now?
Yes, perfect. There you go.
This is how it started.
Oh, I see. So you're laying it out in, yeah, okay. It's like a
10.
flat version, like an outline of it all.
Yes, they had the drawings behind them, and they have every section, and every piece was built this way. And
That's
this is our guy.
cool way. Love it.
So then we go back to this. That's 1 foot. That's this is the neck. The start. Is this? No, this is the rear foot. Head and neck. Yeah, standing up. Then we move to location. We start assembling. Just
By doing the making
so
of.
people know it's real. It's
Yeah. Wow. Look at the
yes,
texture.
and then to that
I love this
for the
little
final result
epic.
with Amin's dressing and all that, the props and the dressing he put on.
And when you were shooting on the inside, did you have another section that was modeled that was on the ground floor where all the cast was? Like
That's exactly it. That's the drawing Ged show you on the presentation.
that big one. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we built that in another part of the back lot, fairly near the catering, so that we could come straight out of lunch, and rather than taking time to travel and take all the gear, we had it right there. So the sparks were already starting to set up the lights and the grip equipment to shoot it. We had it the interior set on a gimbal, a tire gimbal, very simple tire gimbal.
That was the one that, yeah.
Yeah, so we had that all set up, ready to go. And we lined up the sun just before we went in for lunch. Thought, right, we'll come back in an hour, it'll be perfect. And of course, it came out and it was a sandstorm. So that got postponed. But yeah, it was on the ground. Well, it was about, I think it's about 6 foot, nearly 2 meters off the ground. So that you could look up underneath to get that shot, get the camera very low down. We cut out all the bars, the steel bars, so you could shoot it, and structured it above and beyond, outside, below the level of where their feet were, but that you could shoot directly underneath, so you could get that Louis Glasman shot that Tarzan was after.
Nice.
All backlit.
I think you guys are covering everything. We don't nobody has any questions to ask because you explain things so thoroughly.
Some questions. Maybe no one's watching.
No, we got loads of people watching, but I think that like anything they could think of, you guys are covering.
Yeah, I can show you. I don't know if I can show you on my phone the lunch part.
Yeah. Oh yeah, where you guys had that
That's one of them,
magical
which never happens in a catering tent in any type of shooting. I don't know if you can see.
Oh, I'm so jealous right now.
They're coming. The players. Let me get to. Yes. Sorry.
Everybody out there, this is not a typical catering experience. You really get a cheese and pickle sandwich in a wet parking lot.
Yeah. You go to a studio in London, you just get a little lunch, a sort of cardboard lunch box. Like a king out in Morocco.
You don't get sandstorms, but you don't get things like this.
No.
Wow. Oh, look at them dancing. That must have been sheer joy.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of it. You have to make a sound, Abdou, so they can see it.
Huh?
Have you got sound?
I can hear the sound.
There you go.
It's quiet, but I can hear it.
Can you hear it?
Yeah. Wow.
That's just a beauty.
What's
So it was a very special, a very unique experience in every aspect of what a production can be.
Yeah. And you were doing it from different places. I mean, like every part of this it sounded like there was an obstacle to overcome. But I mean, the camaraderie between the three of you guys must just be like, you must be able to read each other's minds.
It got that way. So simple. It was a dream job. Simply was a dream job. I mean, I know that. I've had great jobs before, but you know, every now and again I get asked to do just dressing a little shop or something in London. You know, I charge the same money, but for this one, yeah, it was lovely to get that kind of job. But they're the sort of jobs I get with Tarsim. It's been brilliant.
That's a lifetime experience. That's something you take with you forever. That's why we do this. That's why we do this crazy job for things like this.
The reason why you do this job, for exactly these sort of projects when they come up, you know, once in a lifetime.
It's
I mean,
definitely
more than one once in a lifetime, but this one was really out there, very special.
through my point of view, and Amin is here, is my witness too, and I think it's for him too. It's definitely a once in a lifetime experience, and I wouldn't have missed that BFDG event for anything. I was in a production, in a big Netflix production in Ouarzazate, and I had to sneak out that Friday evening from Ouarzazate to Marrakesh, driving 4 hours, then fly into London quietly without Zach knowing, without them knowing, then fly there, find whatever hotel. It was just a unique experience, and then coming back with those awards was very, very, very special. I hope it happens again, but it was definitely the biggest experience of my life in my job. I don't think ever any Moroccan have been there.
Look how good.
Oh
we
yes, that's beautiful. That's
Your
the one.
cape was epic. I'm sorry, as a parting word, we've run out of time, but as a parting word, I would just like to hear a little bit about your cape. Who are you wearing?
That's a Moroccan cape. I mean, underneath is just a tuxedo like everybody else, but this goes over the traditional jalaba for a celebrity. Actually, it's a wedding cape. You know, the bride and the groom in Morocco, the groom in Morocco change many times during the wedding night. They change clothes many times. At the end, they end up with the tuxedo and white dress. But through the changes, he gets in a traditional jalaba or any kind of Moroccan outfits, and then puts the cape on. It could be in any color, but it happened that I had this one with the golden broderie already at home, so I just got it, and I knew London was cold, and I knew it was gonna do the effect it did.
You looked so fantastic.
You're a married woman now.
Exactly. My hair matched.
Well, thank you, Abdou, to giving me guilt of missing that party, but unfortunately, my actual boss on that job I couldn't sneak from. So, but let me just find out. Wanted to share. Want to share a couple of shots, if it would be possible. I don't know if we have time yet.
Yeah, we could. I would love to see your photos. I don't think anybody minds waiting a few more minutes to see. It's the behind the scene things and all of the extra stuff that you don't see. That's the interesting bits, the story behind the story. We love that.
So
I hope everybody who sees this considers Morocco.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean this also brings up something that we were talking about earlier, Ged, about how important the art department is for finding these locations and being able to weigh in and say, well, I think you should use this, the other because of these reasons, because these, like, you know, if the Americans get to choose, or sometimes if a producer is like, well, I like the way this looks, you can come in and say, well, it's not the right era, or it's not, you know, I won't be able to build the way that I want to build here. It's like, it's very important for us to be able to be considered in choosing these places. And Morocco is absolutely perfect. I mean, what you guys came up with was perfect for the storytelling.
Yeah, it was great. I'm very lucky that because I often get sent out early for various jobs, and also with the art department prepping a set, I invariably get to go where all the locals go, and also see locations the rest of the crew never see that are proposed. So, for instance, I was doing a job. I mean, this was in Tunisia. I was shooting in Douga, a place called Douga, Roman ruins in Douga, and I had to travel about 100 miles to see a pillar that we were building. And I went past a Colosseum, a Roman Colosseum. What on earth is a Roman Colosseum doing here? And many years later, I showed pictures that I'd taken to Tassim, and when a Nike commercial came up with Eric Cantona, they needed a Roman Colosseum, and there it was. So we went out to Tunisia and shot it. So it's, I mean, I do have a lot of books. I do have a lot of photographs of locations other than the ones we've shot in. So I have a library of pretty much everything. So whenever any job comes up, the proposal is financially usually where can we shoot this? And quite often I have an idea of where would be good. Obviously, when it's a
In Morocco.
yes.
Morocco.
when it comes,
Why would you think?
yeah, when it comes to the studio, it's always about the money and where can we afford to get the cheapest crew. So you end up going, you know, I started going out on jobs back in the 90s to Prague, and then out to Hungary and Romania and so on and so forth. So it goes further east, but you know, it depends on what's right. I mean, you know, when I did, I had to do Amazonian Indians and had to build one in, build a whole thing in Brazil, in the Amazon in Brazil. So
That's beautiful.
Everything varies.
Gorgeous. Well, I'm going to be picking your brain because I think I'm going out to Tunisia next.
Oh,
So-
No, you
Please,
shouldn't.
Blair,
Why
can
would
you,
you?
can you just
Look,
swing by?
I'm sorry, sorry to interrupt. There's something very important I want to add to what Ged said.
Okay.
In Morocco, there's a big, huge difference, which is the crew, which is us.
I have heard
Why?
that.
Because we work with designers from every part of the world, in every kind of different jobs, in every kind of different films, every stories, whatever. And it's always the same crew. There's not a big amount of people. There's a small amount of people that productions share, and the experience these people have, the talent that these people have, the as I said to Ged before, for us, every designer, well, we can talk about him being rude or being whatever he is or being special. But for us, it's an open book. We learn from them. We work with Koreans, we work with the English, we work with the Americans, we work with the Italians, we work with every kind of designers, and we keep pumping experience, we keep learning. So now they find it easy to work with us.
Yeah, that's
first
a
minute,
asset.
first contact, it's done. It's a done deal.
That's such an important protocol to have.
Thank you, Amin.
But these are gorgeous.
So just this is the day of shooting when we just been cleared by the storm. So as you see, the sky was still a bit blurry with the dust. That was just right prior to the day of shoot, and that's the morning of the shoots.
Wow. Those epic skies.
Yeah, Ouarzazate has one of the most beautiful skies in I think it's renowned by its light and all over the place. Whenever there's a commercial or a movie shot in Ouarzazate, just by the image you can tell that it's shot in Ouarzazate. So this is the interior of the horse that has been built by the construction crew. Big up to Hassan, by the way. Hopefully everybody here reckons his work. This is the lovely helmets that we got from Baptiste.
Nice.
Because as as uh, as Ged has mentioned earlier, we had to sort out, and this is the beauty about this industry, is that we have to work hand to hand and in cooperation between whatever sourcing you can do from the UK or Spain and all the sourcing you can do from Morocco. Morocco offers many advantages for the crafts, because all the props that you see are still made without any machinery. They are still
Wow.
made like they've been in the same way they've been manufactured centuries ago. If you go to the leather processing factories, they still work in the leathers as they were working it in the 1500s. So that's why every time you see any costumes and any fabrication made out of raw materials, it gives you a sense that it's an antique. It traveled through time until now to be shot in your movie or commercial. So that's one of the advantages of the articrafts in Morocco. That's another shot from for the horse, which is, as Abdou and Ged just said, I think we all blessed to have been part of this project, because it was never been done. And when I was called, I just came out of a crazy project, and I came to this, and Ged, that I've worked with about 18 years ago, or what is 18 or 15 years ago? Remind me, on that
26,
Sony
he said.
commercial.
About 18
Huh?
now. It was about 18
No,
years.
not the 26 one. I wasn't part of that job yet, Abdou. I
You
wasn't.
were-
But I loved working with Ged, because everything that we've done, even the Sony commercial, was epic. I still remember building that human size futsal table in the middle of Essaouira, with the Festival of Colors, and people are running all over the place. And that's one thing I'm very proud and very happy every time Ged gets on the phone and calls me and said, Amin, I got a gag for you.
Yes,
Can you
yes.
home paint? And we just say yes. So
Yeah.
and this is a $1 million dollar picture, if you can tell. So let me zoom in and introduce you to our magnificent construction manager. All we
Ah,
got to him.
yes.
That's Hassan over there, with our fearless art director. That's that they do in they fight in the heat. They're not having tea, just to make sure they're not having a tea break. This is how Moroccan fight the heat,
With tea.
Tea.
with tea. So
Yeah.
you can
Mint
tell
tea.
they're not sitting in the shade. It must be, you can tell by the shade, it's somewhere between 4 and 5 o'clock, and the temperature on the ground should be like 47, 46, definitely. But
And
they
yet
were looking.
we have huge smiles. We loved it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd be honored to
So
work with you guys one day. That's just, I mean, just even without the heat, it just seems like such a wonderful, thrilling,
Blair,
authentic
the
way of
heat is
working.
just the heat is just a spice like any other. But believe me, if you come to Morocco, we promise you to show you some location that you would just never suspect that exists. So that,
Yes.
and that's one thing that you won't find in Tunisia. Even if I love working in Tunisia and I have a lot of Tunisian friends, but Morocco has this particularity of having so many diverse location in one small radius. Like in a 4-hour drive from center town Marrakesh, you can get mountains, forests, sea, beaches, ravines, all those scenery that you can play anything from the 1009 Tales up to Afghanistan.
Amazing.
For just we cheated Abu Dhabi for Sex in the City #2.
Oh,
We shot
wow.
it in we shot it in Marrakesh. So
Right.
that's another thing. so many. We shot Tehran for Marrakesh for Tehran. We shot many things for
Godzilla for Cairo.
we shot Godzilla, definitely, yes. I forgot about that one. It's so soon.
Amazing.
The one that's coming, the
So-
next one, Godzilla and Kong. We
Yeah.
shot Cairo for Marrakesh, Marrakesh for Cairo.
It came out about 4 weeks ago, I think.
I'm going to have to wrap this up. But these pictures are so
So-
telling backstory.
Yeah, and I just wanted to pay a little tribute to
Aw.
my wonderful, talented crew that all made the bringing to life of the horse possible. So you have the painter, you have the riggers, you have the rope tiers, you have the laborers that just carried all those props.
Smiling.
Everything came from one only. That's the main challenge of this job, that everything came from one gate, one stairway, and everything was man lifted,
Wow.
and everybody was smiling. And as a reward, we had been treated to this legendary lunch offered by our friend in Zach Productions, Mr. Zakaria Alawi.
What a treat. That just looks
Yeah.
epic.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So anytime you're thinking of coming in Morocco, just let us know. We'll arrange the same thing.
Great. Thank you very much. I'll be there tomorrow.
مرحبا.
What time? Pick you up.
First thing in the morning. But I have to wrap this up and let everybody go. But I would love to see your faces again if you stop sharing for a second and we can see everybody's faces. There you go. And gosh, thank you guys so much. This
Thank
has
you very
been
much.
I mean, you had so much to say and so many pictures. This is one of my favorite design forums, just for the sheer amount of information and the backstory and what everybody's been able to learn from this, and location information and backstories and just all your time is really valuable, and I really appreciate this.
You're welcome.
Thank you for
You're
having
welcome.
us.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
We have the
Thank you,
wonderful
everybody.
Ged and Amin and Abdou, and they've come here to join us for this design forum. And if you want any more information about the BFDG, including membership, you can find it at britishfilmdesigners.com. And we would all like to thank everybody for joining us for this extended version of our design forum. Thank you and good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.